We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. I always say this. Huge show in store for you tonight. This time, I'm not joking. LSU starts naming staff members for their next year coaching staff on and off the field. We will get into that. Some offensive coordinators are starting to get hot. Who are some names that are starting to get hot around LSU? We will talk about that. One we mentioned last night. One that is very, very familiar. And by the way, there's absolute chaos everywhere. The coldest to ever do it, Crawford just decommitted literally minutes ago. LSU starting quarterback Max Johnson's hitting the portal, y'all. His brother, the five-star tight end Jake Johnson, also has announced that he is decommitting from LSU. Do y'all hear my phone? Listen to this. The phone is buzzing tonight. And LSU wide receiver Deion Smith is also transferring from LSU. Lon Phillips, our man Lon Phillips, breaking the news about Deion Smith. Now, Lon did say something in his report today. Lon did put something in his report that needs to be questioned about Deion Smith. He said something in reference to Deion Smith going to Ole Miss. If that's the case, it could be a grade 1 recruiting violation if Lane Kiffin has been talking to Deion Smith. Now, Lane, I know you aren't committing grade 1 recruiting violations, are you? You wouldn't be tampering with someone's active roster. Ed Orgeron, you wouldn't have told Lane Kiffin some players to come after now, would you have? Just a thought. Just a thought. As Kayshon Boutte literally just tweeted, just a matter of time. Guys, it's only going to get worse before it gets better, but it's always going to be okay. It's going to be better at LSU. All right, let's do this because we do have a lot to get into tonight. If there is some breaking news or some news going on while we're in the show, send us a text, send us a DM, send us a tweet. That way we can report it because it's not that easy to do a show while news is being broken and reported. I will try to do my best as news comes in as well. Let's get to a couple of comments before we pay some bills. PJ and CJ sends us $9.99 via Super Chat. He said, I told y'all boys that there was going to be a purge of decommitting and transferring. I feel like it's a bunch of influencing, decommitting because they are not Brian Kelly's vision and not the future. It's a very good point. It's a very good point. And likely could be some of that and probably is a lot of that. But as Jason says on YouTube here, RELAX, and I agree with him, relax. The sky is not falling. You're going to be okay because you still got good recruits and good coaches that are going to be coming into here. Frank Wilson being the biggest today, as we will talk about it. All right. So let's do this. Since we got so much to get into, and I'll try to get to as many of your comments as we can. Put in the hashtag Ask Blake inside the chat or at Blake inside the chat. That way it helps me a little bit better finding your comments, tweets, whatever. And so we can put them up here and we can answer those questions. But let's pay some bills. Let me tell you this. I'm going to have me a drink tonight. It's been a long-ass day. Been up since 4:30. My mom had surgery today on her knee, tore both meniscus, poor lady. Poor mama. But yeah. But Craig Schilling says, does anybody in the Rudy crew have eligibility left? I do not. Thought I had one more year, but I lost it. Anyway, let's pay some bills, and then we'll get started. None better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and betonline.ag. Guys, with 64 years of experience, nobody's better equipped to servicing your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job has been too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. Or tell them your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino, over at AYS sent you on by. And our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, we've been telling you about BetOnline for such a long time now. Whip out your mobile device at the end of the show. Use the AYS Believe 50 podcast tab. That way that they know that we sent you by. They'll give you 50% back on that first deposit if you use that tab. That's betonline.ag. betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Everybody, for some reason, is asking inside the chat, who is BK? BK is Brian Kelly. BK is Brian Kelly. And now Kayshon Boutte just deleted his tweet saying that, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. All right, getting some news here. Guys, just very quickly, I'm being told around Football Ops that there was a meeting today with coaches and players. If that's the case, I need to run that down a little bit more. But if there was a case, if that's truthful, that there was a meeting between coaches, probably Brian Kelly and others, and other players, that's why you're going to see some of these decommitments. That's why you're probably seeing some kids in the transfer portal. But look, I'm going to say this. Let me run that down before you take that as fact. Let me run that down. Will Campbell enthusiast on YouTube says, #ask Blake, can you clarify all the positions, status, and all the hires today? Yeah, we can do that. All right. So early this morning, it was reported that Xavier Gooden from USC, who has been on, it was an intern on Brian Kelly's staff, and has been around Brian Kelly for a couple of years, is going to be a strength coach. Now, that started throwing some loops into what some people thought. They thought that Xavier Gooden was going to be taking over for Tommy Moffitt. That's not the case. A strength coach is somebody that's on staff that will be under a strength and conditioning coordinator. Speaking of strength and conditioning coordinator, today, as we told you the end of last week, we told you on Twitter Spaces, and it's being announced today. I even told you last night that Jacob Flint, who has been at Notre Dame and been with Brian Kelly ever since Central Michigan, who is a strength and conditioning coordinator, is now taking over the full-time role as the strength and conditioning coordinator at LSU. Now, Jacob Flint is a guy that, talking to people at Notre Dame, Brian Driscoll, who we had on this show last week, talked about how innovative Jacob Flint was. And look, he was pretty much the manager, the guy that pretty much ran things for Notre Dame. And look, their teams were very physical at the point of attack. Right after that, Dr. Matt Frake, is now was also announced, and I think we kind of broke that story, but some sources told me today that Matt Frake was going to be the director of nutrition at LSU. So all of that being in one, those are off the field roles, right? All off the field roles. Guys that have been with Brian Kelly, guys that he trusts. And look, we've talked about that, okay? 9 times out of 10, not even 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, when a new head coach comes in, they're going to majority bring in their own strength and conditioning coach. They're going to bring in their own nutritionist and stuff like that. What Tommy Moffitt did at LSU is unprecedented. Going through Nick Saban, going through Les Miles, going through Ed Orgeron. That doesn't always happen. Brian Kelly comes in and you see what happens. Okay. So then some on-the-field roles started to be coming out, multiple people breaking it on this one. Let me start with, I'm going to go to Frank Wilson last, because Frank Wilson is something that we're going to spend a lot of our time on in the early part of this. And I didn't even say this to get started. Just so much to get into. I always forget this. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. If you're on Facebook, do us a favor by hitting the like button and the share button. Share to some Facebook groups, share to your personal page. If you're on YouTube, do us a favor by hitting the subscribe button and notification bell. If you're on Periscope, Twitter, or if you're listening to us on the audio podcast side, don't forget to subscribe there. We greatly appreciate it. Brian Polian, who, you might have heard that last name, especially being the GM. His dad was a GM of the Indianapolis Colts, the guy that drafted Peyton Manning, comes from a long football family. But Brian Polian was named the special teams coordinator at LSU today. That was the first on-field, really and truthfully on-field role that we heard about today. Now, a lot of Notre Dame people are trashing that hire. Oh, it was horrible in special teams. But here's what I know. Brian Polian has been with Brian Kelly for a long time. Guys, he's pulled in a lot of great recruits. Quarterbacks, linebackers, tight ends, you name it. Really, when there's a five-star that Brian Kelly has targeted at Notre Dame, and they haven't got many, Brian Polian has been at minimum a secondary recruiting guy for that athlete. Majority of those guys, he has been the primary guy, and he is going from coast to coast, even going to Hawaii and stuff like that, getting players to come to Notre Dame. Very good recruiter, has been around football and hit literally his entire life. So for everybody saying that Brian Polian isn't a good hire, quite honestly, you have no effing idea what you're talking about. To anybody that would say he's not a good recruiter, you have no effing idea what you're talking about. When we click on Brian Polian's name and you got 5-star, 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 over 15 years worth of work, the man can effing recruit. That was going to be part of my Ruffino's rant before all hell absolutely broke loose tonight. Good pickup for Brian Kelly and somebody that he trusts. Look, you're going to see some of that, especially for those recruiting. And then, as everybody knows, now this started around, I'd say 8:30, 9 o'clock, around Frank Wilson. Now, if you don't know who Frank Wilson is, I guess I would question, are you really an LSU fan? Frank Wilson is a guy that's been here under Les Miles. He's been the head coach at O. Perry Walker in New Orleans, has a lot of New Orleans ties. He's been the head coach at UTSA. He's been the head coach at McNeese. Was on Ed Orgeron's staff at Ole Miss. A lot of coaching experience. But the truth is, with all of that, probably the biggest thing, outside of being a head coach for Frank Wilson, that is the staple of his college football coaching career, has been he's a two-time National Recruiting Coach of the Year. Some would even say that Frank Wilson is the best recruiter in LSU football history. You saw a lot of players today coming out saying that they're so excited. Leonard Fournette being one, Jalen Mills, Jalen Collins, who retweeted what we did. Love my guy Jalen. Terrence McGee, others, Jeremy Hill, that they're so excited that Frank Wilson is going to be back on staff. Guys, it's a huge hire for Brian Kelly. You got to have – we talked about this last night. Now, some things were coming out yesterday about Frank Wilson and why I even talked about you're going to have somebody on the offensive side of the ball from the state of Louisiana. Guys, we can't make this effing shit up. I mean, we just can't. Pull the footage. Regardless how it is, you got to have somebody from the state of Louisiana on both sides of the ball. I don't care if they're a good recruiter. I don't care if they're a bad recruiter. You got to have someone for those connections. You want him to be a great recruiter, sure, and that's what Frank Wilson is, in my opinion. Some might say otherwise. Some may say he's the best ever. But in my opinion, he's a damn good, not even good, a great recruiter. The track record doesn't lie. The man can go anywhere in the state of Louisiana and get that kid to come to LSU. Loves LSU, wants to be at LSU. When you leave a head coaching job to come back to LSU to be the associate head coach, I will talk about that in just a minute because some people were trying to conflict what I was saying in my report earlier. But a source told me look, I don't really care if he's going to be – they're playing formalities. We'll leave that one alone. But Frank Wilson's going to be on your offensive staff. I'm not going to try to get in a pissing contest, but a source told me that he's going to go back to running backs and that Kevin Falk is going to go back into more of an administrative role. That's what I'm hearing right now. Can things change? Sure, guys. It's a coaching carousel. Anything can change at a flip at a drop of the dime, at a snap of a finger. But right now, a really good source is telling me that he's going to be the running backs coach, associate head coach, and even take part over of being more of the recruiting coordinator for the offensive side of the ball at minimum. So, all right. Then we get to the portal. If you've missed it, Max Johnson has announced that he has put his name into the transfer portal. Now, Max Johnson, look, to me, there's a lot of people are having different opinions. I don't know how much I want to go into right now about Max Johnson. Was he a good quarterback? Was he not a good quarterback? Regardless, your starting quarterback for LSU is hitting the portal. Now, you do have a bowl game coming up on January the 4th. Who's your starting quarterback? Now, do you burn the Garrett Nussmeier red shirt? You know, they fought hard to get that red shirt. But right now, Garrett Nussmeier is your starter. Whether he's taking a red shirt or not, he is your starter. Now, there are some walk-on quarterbacks, Matt O'Dowd being one of them. The Falk kid, I cannot remember his name to save my life. His first name, I think it is Trev. Let me look this up because I don't want to get the kid's name wrong. And that's my fault for not putting that in my notes, but we really didn't have a lot of time before Max Johnson put his name into the portal. He's number 12, though. Where is he? Tavion Falk. There you go. Tavion Falk. So you do have a couple of backup quarterbacks, but look, at the end of the day, I really don't know what you're going to do there. I don't know what Brian Kelly wants to do. But what is sad, though, is that you do have Max Johnson leaving, and if Garrett Nussmeier takes a red shirt, what does it say for guys like Damone Clark that's been there for 4 years? What does it say to guys like Neil Farrell, Glenn Logan, Ali Gay, guys that have been here for a little while now? Andre Anthony, I know he can't play, but still, what does it say to those guys if you start playing, if you walk out a walk-on quarterback and you're not really trying to win the game? Look, it's a big juggling act, and Brad Davis has a lot that he's got to take care of. And look, he's going to have to use the assistance and help of Brian Kelly, your next head coach. It is what it is. Things were always going to get worse before they got better. Guys, the easy transition that you have from someone like Les Miles to Ed Orgeron is not common. Ed was able to keep that recruiting class together and multiple recruiting classes together because it was an easy transition. Kids already knew Coach O. Players rallied around Coach O. That doesn't happen often. Hell, it rarely happens. And so now that Ed was able to get on the recruiting trail so many years ago, kids were able to come back. But let's not act like big names didn't flip. You weren't able to get Devontae Smith. You weren't able to get Fedarian Mathis. You almost lost Sage Ryan, whose relatives are on staff. Now, luckily you didn't. But the transition is never easy. And I know Sage Ryan was later. I'm just saying that all of that's never easy. We got a lot of comments firing in here. Oh, and Deion Smith, the very talented wide receiver, is also put his name in the transfer portal. I'm going to go a little bit, so stay with me here. Stay with me. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. Who said trust the visor? Steve Bean said trust the visor. I don't want to get Deion Smith into any trouble here. Okay, I really don't. But Lon Phillips, look, God bless his soul. God bless Lon Phillips. God bless his heart. Lon Phillips did break the story about Deion Smith entering the transfer portal. He also put in his story about Deion Smith going to Ole Miss and wanting to be a part of Lane Kiffin's staff. Let me tell you this. That doesn't come out of anywhere. That means that they've had talks with Ole Miss. Now, how much did Lane Kiffin intervene? If he did intervene and was tampering with a player on somebody else's roster, that's a grade 1 recruiting violation. And with all due respect to Lane Kiffin, y'all better pop that son of a bitch, because this whole tampering bullshit ain't going to fly. Now, it's going to happen, but it ain't going to fly. We'll see. We will see. All right, just trying to get some news here. Okay. Let's get to a couple comments. Look, I was hoping that tonight would be about Frank Wilson. It would be about Brian Kelly putting his staff together. But I know what the comments are going to do. I know what everybody's going to talk about, and I understand it. But you got really talented quarterbacks in the portal. You got really talented offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks. We'll see. We will see. Travis Dyson says, now people asking about Miles. Nah, keep that same energy y'all had all year. Everybody loved Max. He was the greatest quarterback ever because he beat Florida. Travis, just throwing this out there. Who said that he was the best quarterback ever? I think you kind of make some stuff up sometimes, right? Like I feel like you make some stuff up sometimes in your own head. You talk about things and you just kind of make it up. Nobody said he was the best quarterback of all time. Thank you, Chet. I'm not going to read that out, though. Blaine Smith says, down to 10 recruits, got to drink a case of Monster and recruit like hell. Yeah, you better. And look, this recruiting class is going to take a big hit. It's going to take a big hit. But what are you going to do? Like, guys, what are you going to do that this recruiting class is taking a big hit? I don't know what – I really don't know what to tell you other than it's going to take a big hit unless – and look, Brian Kelly's going to have to do a lot of work from now. Look, they have a big recruiting thing this weekend. They have guys like Trevante Citizen, Harold Perkins, Quincy Wiggins, Shaz Preston, Jacoby Matthews. You got a lot of kids coming in this weekend for recruiting. God forbid you get 4 of those 5. Now you got to go get another 10 or 11. Then you got to go out to the transfer portal. Let me say this too. You're going to have to go get a transfer quarterback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't want to hear about Walker Howard. I don't want to hear about Garrett Nussmeier. I don't want to hear about any of them. Garrett Nussmeier, it is what it is. He's got a lot he's got to improve on. But what happens if Walker Howard, God forbid, comes in here as a freshman and beats him out? What happens? You got to add depth to that position. You have to. Walker Howard is hurt. What's he going to be able to do during the spring and the offseason? What's he going to be able to do during the summer? When it comes to workouts, what is he going to be able to do? You're going to have to go get a transfer quarterback. Bottom line. And if it hurts somebody's feelings, if it hurts the Nussmeiers' feelings, I hate to say it like this, so what? I don't think that it will, but so what? At this point, let's not also get this twisted. Let's not act like Ed Orgeron did Brian Kelly any favors with great roster management either. A couple of weeks ago against Texas A&M, you only had 53 scholarship players. 53 dressed scholarship players playing against Texas A&M. What's going to happen when you go to the Texas Bowl? Are you going to have less than 50? You better pray to God you get guys back like Mason Smith. Complete roster overhaul. Bundy says Harold Perkins will be at A&M this weekend. I thought he came back and said he was going to be at LSU. because somebody was reporting that, not me, but I did see somebody reporting that. Somebody go check that. Somebody go bean count me on that, as they say. Joe Square says you hit that nail on the head. Thank you. Matt says, God, no, he can't hold on to the ball. Logan Mathern says Max left because Kelly already had a transfer quarterback coming and he knew that. Do you know that? And maybe he does. Charles Reed says Harold Perkins isn't going that weekend. Okay, there we go. We got being checked. Jason says Max and Miles are portal buddies. Is that like Thunder buddies? Thunder buddies. Yeah, you got the Martinez kid in the portal. Oh, shit. Got somebody send me this that the team nor the staff knew that Max Johnson was entering the portal, but then I got a text earlier saying that they had a team meeting and they gave him a little bit of a heads up. We'll see. Joseph says no Spencer Rattler. I agree with you there. Mark says Jordan Jefferson, the last quarterback to sign and finish at LSU. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Don Trail says, don't say Rattler. Oh, hell no. Y'all thought I was about to say Spencer Rattler, go get a transfer quarterback? Hell no. But you got to go get one. Look, guys, you have a lack of depth at so many positions. Now, look, you have Frank Wilson. Frank Wilson's about to make his money. Brian Kelly is about to make that $100 million. Because let's not act like you can just wait one recruiting class. Recruiting is a lifeblood that fuels the dreams of champions. Brian Kelly with that $100 million and whatever, God forbid, there's already some numbers being floated out there, but let's get that confirmed first. Frank Wilson's going to have to make that money. Austin Thomas, if he stays on staff, knock on wood for right now, you're going to have to go out there and make that money. Because if you don't get your guys in here and you start recruiting, this could set you back a little bit. Actually, could set you back a lot. I'm not trying to panic you. I'm not trying to worry you. I'm not trying to freak you out. But the facts are the facts. There's a reason why so many people care about recruiting is because it's really and truthfully, it's one of the three pillars that means anything in college football. Jeremy Marshall says he going to find out it's Dakota's out of Louisiana and Nebraska. Look, man, guys decommitting, guys like Dakota's Crawford or Travante Citizen decommitting, I don't necessarily blame them, right? Like, I'm not going to blame them for decommitting just in the simple fact of you don't know Brian Kelly. You didn't commit to playing that scheme. Oh, well, Blake, it's about the school. It's about LSU. Well, what's best for the kid? You ever thought about that? Like, come on, man. Yeah, old Lon Phillips broke that story today, boy. He also got Lane Kiffin in a bunch of trouble. You got to love it. Chris says Max Johnson, the best quarterback of all times. No, I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody in the state of Louisiana that ever said Max Johnson was the best quarterback of all time. They might have said Joe Burrow. Brian Williams says, isn't Austin Thomas a Scott Woodward hire? I wouldn't expect him to be let go. Maybe. Guys, shakeups can come in all forms or fashions. Doesn't matter who you are. When the $100 million man walks in there, the man that you're paying $100 million, if he walks in there and says anybody in that building is fired, guys, they're gone. Dusty asked on Facebook, #Ask Blake, the kid from Ohio State, Quinn Ewers. Yeah. I don't think that he's coming to LSU. Like, Quinn Ewers is going to be somewhere in Texas, either Texas, A&M, whatever. But there was another kid There was another kid. Let me go find it. Jack Miller was another kid that decommitted from Ohio State. I think that had some connection with Brian Kelly. So we'll see. Don says y'all just throwing out names. Throwing out names for who? Oh, you're talking about them, talking about quarterbacks. Yeah. I mean, look, we don't know that. At least I don't know that. At least I don't know who they can go get, but Jack Miller was the other kid from Ohio State, and I know that he had some Midwestern ties. Some people had said to me that Brian Kelly had recruited him a little bit, and there could be a connection there. Wouldn't it be hilarious? Wouldn't it be hilarious, y'all, if you got another transfer quarterback from Ohio State and Jack Miller comes in here and rips this bitch alive? God, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. All right. We got some other things we need to talk about too. Hell, I don't even know what we put down. I was going to do a Ruffino's Rants. I was going to do a staff update. I was going to go around the SEC. We can do some staff updates. Let me ask y'all this question. Well, I'm not going to ask that. Let me just say this. I'm sure a lot of you today, and look, Joe asked this question. Do you think they had go get Joe Brady? Let's talk about Joe Brady, because there's a lot coming out in reference to Joe Brady and around Miami. But let me unveil a little bit of the curtain to everybody that's not in this business. Okay, let's talk about this and let's pull the veil back, so to speak. It was reported today that Joe Brady had an offer from Miami and Mario Cristobal to be the next offensive coordinator for the Hurricanes. Now, let me tell you something. In my small amount of time, and I say small amount of time, to some it would be small. To me, it feels like a lifetime. But in the 5 years that we've been doing this, majority of the time when you see somebody that comes out and says, sources, Joe Brady has an offer from Miami, that means either one of two things. That means either, number one, Joe Brady really doesn't want to go to Miami, and he's using it as leverage to get a contract somewhere else or offers from somewhere else. It's like it's the biggest smoke screen of all time when you hear the word somebody was offered a contract. But it's not a smoke screen in the sense of that offer actually exists. A la, AKA, and to the point of LSU, what we just got done dealing with in Lincoln Riley. This stuff is very simple, and it's like the tricks never change. Do you remember like your grandpa or your grandmother or somebody, when you were a little kid, they always used to play jokes on you. They used to do like this little trick, the thumb trick. Oh, here's my thumb. It attached. Oh, here's my thumb. Oh, it attached. It's the oldest trick in the book. But once you got older, your grandfather never really had other tricks, right? Like, he has experience, he has knowledge, but he doesn't have more tricks. That is what agents are for these coaches in these coaching carousels. The tricks are always the same. Case in point, Monday, I asked LSU fans what you thought about Jim Knowles, the Oklahoma State defensive coordinator. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of sources. Bruce Feldman, and we talked about this. Well, it's today Tuesday? Yes, today's Tuesday. So yesterday. Getting my days confused. Now today, Bruce Feldman reported that Jim Knowles is going to be the next defensive coordinator at Ohio State. I can tell you that LSU did reach out to Jim Knowles, and why we kind of put it up to the forefront, asking LSU fans what you thought about him. How does this tie into Joe Brady? Joe Brady wants back in. He don't have to tell me directly. He ain't got to say nothing. his agent, Trace Armstrong, who, by the way, is also the same agent for, wait for it, Brian Kelly. You're telling me all I need to know. Now, there is some sourcing out there that that Joe Brady does want back in, but I don't know if Brian Kelly wants him to be back in. Now, our show is a little bit different, so if you've never heard something like this or someone talk about this before, we're going to be different. We unveil the curtain. I don't know if Joe Brady's going to be your next offensive coordinator. Don't run out there and say Blake Ruffino saying Joe Brady's going to be the next offensive coordinator at LSU. Never said that. But I know he wants back in. And when you got receivers like Terrace Marshall, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, you got coaches that can go recruit like Frank Wilson, Brian Polian, Brian Kelly. In the rich state of Louisiana that produces Leonard Fournette, Odell Beckham, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall. A guy that doesn't like recruiting is going to go to Miami where he's got to fight Billy Napier at Florida with Jabbar Jalouk, and he's got to fight Mike Norvell in Florida State. Very interesting. Very interesting. Who's he got to fight here in state for again? Oh, that's right. Semper says Blake is pushing Joe Brady. I'm not pushing Joe Brady. I told you my piece on what I thought about Joe Brady. Now, do I think that Brian Kelly can help him along the way and he could develop him into a great offensive mind and a great offensive coordinator like he did Tommy Rees? You're effing right. I think he could. Brian Kelly, Joe Brady right now probably needs somebody alongside him to help him out. Hashtag Steve Ensminger. Hashtag much love. Hashtag Slinger. Adrian sends us $5 via Super Chat, says Joe Brady is from Miami, so Florida and Miami could be his destination. Could be. But you don't leak that unless you want out. Does Joe Brady really want to go back? Jacob Cole says, I completely forgot about Kirkland. Oh, Derontre Kirkland. How wild would that be? That'd be very wild. The last game for LSU that he ever played, it's going to be quarterback. Sheesh. Don Trail says it was just like the Lincoln Riley situation. You're damn right it was. You're damn right it was. Guys, this shit's not – guys, I've been doing coaching searches for a while now. Don't have experiences as some, but shit doesn't change. It's the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes shit goes crazy. Sometimes shit gets, sometimes stuff changes. But it normally just stays the same. Just in a different way. Justin says, hashtag Ask Blake, Dylan Gabriel, UCF quarterback, running Jeff Lebby's offense at LSU. Guys, isn't Jeff Lebby going to Oklahoma? Am I crazy there? I mean, I must be crazy. Jeff Lebby. Maybe I'm wrong. Guys, there's still reports that Jeff Lebby is going to Oklahoma. I mean, unless I'm wrong, unless they can pull something out of the hat, and what is Ole Miss going to counter? I don't know. Ole Miss is actually trying to find a way. It's trying to find a way to actually spend money now. Paul on Facebook, Paul Nevels, says Joe Brady was fired. Fired! No duh. A lot of good coaches were either fired or left the NFL before their time was over. Holden Lee says, should be hearing something soon about Moat or more staff and coordinators this week. Yeah. Yep. Mark says Joe Brady to Miami. Okay. Look, could be. Pooh Bear says, Blake, you missing all the good YouTube comments. Where are they at? Jason says, imagine that NIL deal from Jack Miller's to Jack Miller. Oh, Jared Smith says Jack Miller's barbecue sauce. Jason says, dude is strange and you know it, Blake. Look, I don't care who's strange, but if a man's going to break something, he's going to break something. What do y'all want me to do about it? Literally nothing I can do about it at that point. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. Sipper Crawfish says the OU fans told me today they got Jeff Levy. Sources. Gerald says it was talked about on the Levy thing. Yeah, show was players. Caleb says, did I miss to talk about Max and Smith transferring? Yeah, you did. Just go back, rewind it. Look, and it stings. It stings that Jake Johnson's leaving. But I'm going to quote the great Cam Lewis, who says, next man up. Like, how much does it suck for a guy like Cam Lewis? Look, I get that Jake Johnson probably wanted Max to transfer now so they could probably play on the same team. And blood is thicker than water. I understand all of that. But, man, that's pretty crappy, man. That's pretty crappy. Oh, not more news. All right. So I guess we could recap this. We're going to take this from our good friend Brody Miller, who we did smoke the peace pipe song a couple days ago. But just to recap the day for LSU, he says new LSU strength coach, Brian Polian as LSU special teams coach, Frank Wilson returns, which is humongous, and we should be talking about more and how he's dominated recruiting across the state of Louisiana. Greg McMahon, the special teams coordinator, retires after winning a national championship and a Super Bowl. Deion Smith transfers, Max Johnson transfers, Jake Johnson decommits, DeColdis Crawford commits. And it's only going to get more weird and crazy as shit tomorrow. Remember, I told you this. I told you this last night. I'll say it again today. Tomorrow's going to be just as crazy. You're going to hear more shit. You're going to hear more crazy shit. There's probably going to be a little, maybe I hear some things, probably another staff hire or two. Maybe you'll get some retention on this staff. Maybe that will come out tomorrow, but you're going to hear some more stuff. And, guys, it's going to get worse. It's going to get better. It's going to get worse. You're going to get a coach. You might get a commit. Somebody's going to leave. But, look, now you got 2 spots on that +7, plus Elias Ricks. Now Ohio State, for whatever reason, doesn't want Elias Ricks. I'll tell you this, and look, I said this about a month ago when he decided to transfer and kind of took some heat from it. But now you got people reporting about Ohio State not wanting to take Elias Ricks because of some issues that he's had. Don't mean to shame the kid or anything like that, but, guys, it's being widely reported now. Maybe you bring him in. I don't know. Rick says the Frank Wilson hire is a huge win for LSU. Legacy hire, just like Brian Kelly. I think that it even gives Brian Kelly a little bit of stress relief, right? Like, it gives Brian Kelly some freedom to know that he's got probably the best recruiter that LSU's ever seen out there. What happens this weekend, and I forget the kids that are coming, but what happens this weekend when those kids walk in and you got Frank Wilson recruiting them, Brian Kelly recruiting them? Guys, you might get some commits this week. But it is what it is. Val Brandon says a player transferring is running from competition. Guys, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that, because you could say You could say because Joe Burrow still had a couple more years that he could have played at Ohio State. Did Joe Burrow? Well, Joe Burrow graduated. I get all that, and I understand all of it, and every situation's different. But Joe Burrow didn't. Well, yeah, he did technically, or he would have gone through a coaching change at Ohio State. But guys, Val, I don't know if I'm going that far, man. I don't know if I'm going as far as a player transferring that is max running from competition. I mean, look, this will be the third offensive coordinator that Max has had at LSU. He's taken nothing but a literal physical beating and a mental beating at his time at LSU. The kid's giving you a lot, and I thank Max for doing that. Max played out the rest of the season, but he made a decision for him. I don't think that I don't think that he's running. I don't think he's running from anything. I'm gonna disagree with that a little bit. Adam B says, "Ask Blake. I work with two big Ole Miss boosters, and they did raise the money, but said he is already gone because he doesn't want to live in Lane's genius at offense shadow." Okay, I dig it. Ty says on Facebook, "Ask Blake, could you please tell these people Miles isn't coming back?" Miles isn't coming back. Guys, and really and truthfully, do you really want him to come back? What do you want him to come back for? Cedric says, "Ask Blake, who will be our quarterback now that Max is gone?" Well, I don't know what Brian Kelly does, okay, but look, I don't know if they burn Garrett Nussmeier's red shirt for a bowl game. But if they force his hand and Garrett Nussmeier goes in the portal, then what? Then what? There are so many things that I want to. There's so many things that I want to say, but I don't know how I can articulate it without there being nothing but just a complete chaos. Like one side's going to agree and the other side's not, and it's going to be nothing but a huge divide. But I do feel like, and this is just my feelings, I do feel like some of these players are a little spoiled. Like I do feel that way. What you gonna do, back in my day, I feel like I'm we talked about last night on the show. I feel like I'm the dad with the t-shirt on and the khakis with the cargo pants, the cargo pant pocket shorts, the khaki jorts with my shirt tucked in, my white New Balances, my tube socks, my Costa sunglasses, and my burger flipper with a cold ice beer in my hand. That's how I feel when I say that. But we got to be a little honest here. We got to be a little honest. Some of these players are a little spoiled. Now, some of them are entitled to some things. You shouldn't be able to tell a kid where the fuck he should go to school. Like, let's not get that twisted. You're not going to fucking tell me where I'm going to go to school. But sometimes you got to play some stuff out. If you don't want kids transferring, listen to me. Been there, done that. Had a scholarship pulled from me. You want kids to stay? If you want kids to stay, make them sign more than a 1-year contract because everybody thinks it's a 3 to 4 year commitment. Hell no. You sign a 1-year deal for a scholarship every single year. Make them sign it for 3 years. Give a commitment to them because nobody loses their shit when you tell a kid and a recruit to look elsewhere. Nobody. Nobody cares about the 3-star kid that gets cut loose and has to decommit and look elsewhere when you have a potential 5-star kid. Blake, it's just business. That 3-star kid has been committed to you since he was a sophomore. And because of the fact he didn't go to a Nike camp and hold Phil Knight's hand, he doesn't get his 4th star. Hashtag Jack Besh. Ring a fucking bell? Sorry, I get too worked up about that topic. But everybody's like, oh, the transfer portal shit. The transfer portal got you your last Heisman. The transfer portal helped you beat Alabama. But some of these kids are spoiled and entitled. And I am all for player advancement. All for it. NIL, all that shit. I'm for it. Let's go. Trey says, getting deep, Blake might want to put them Crocs on 4-wheel drive. Look at him. Look at him. Y'all know I got them Crocs on, man. Somebody called them my lemon slippers. Hey, last night we got done with the show. Somebody put in the comments, they're my lemon slippers. They're my lemon slippers. But it's true though, right? Like it's true. So the old man sitting on the porch, that kid doesn't have any loyalty. Well, you don't have any loyalty when the 3-star kid gets his ass cut in recruiting. You don't say shit because you go get Jamar Chase. Life just got real for you, didn't it? So if you're going to freak out and you're going, oh my God, there's no loyalties anymore. Remember that. All right. Jackson says players been getting paid. You damn right. Pooh Bear says lemon pepper slippers. They are my lemon pepper slippers. I be cooking them lemon peppers in this bitch. You already know. You know, Brad Johnson went to Florida State, and LSU plays Florida State to start the season next year. How crazy would it be if LSU faced Max Johnson and Jake Johnson to start the season next year? Brian Russell says you can't get around spoiled players. It's the nature of the job. I agree with that. It's like in life. But it's going to be a lot more dark, as Preston Guy says, and I'm going on his show right after this in about 3 minutes. But it's going to get a lot more dark before it gets better. You're going to get a lot of good coaches in here. A lot of good coaches. You're going to get a lot of good players. You're going to get a lot of good players. You're going to get people transferring too. It's just the nature of the beast, man. Let's get to 3 more. Chandler Hollingsworth talked to your brother today. He said you being bad, boy. He says Honey Badger ring a bell. Had no clue who he was before he dressed out. LSU really had no clue until he came to the football camp, to the Tiger Bowl or whatever they called it back in the Gap. Nobody knew. Kane says that boy Blake need a juice box. Shit, I'd go get a juice box. All right. So to recap, just rewind it. Jacob Flint, Xavier Gooden, Brian Polian, Frank Wilson, Joe Brady makes a statement saying he really don't want to go to Miami, the oldest trick in the book. Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator at Cincinnati, we really didn't talk about, but we talked about last night, has been at Notre Dame and Grand Valley State, the OC from Cincinnati. a name that keeps coming up and up and up and up. We'll see what happens there. Max Johnson transfers, Jake Johnson decommits, Dakotas Crawford decommits, and Deion Smith hits the portal. Did I miss anything? All right. We'll see y'all again tomorrow. It's been a fun show. We'll see y'all soon. Don't forget to hit the like and share. Everybody right now, subscribe, hit the like and share, do all of it right now. Appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow with some more coaching news and LSU player recruiting news as well. See y'all soon. Have a good night.